If you want to master Google Ads and scale your campaigns beyond your current levels, then you need to know about demand gen campaigns. Today, I'm first going to walk you through how to set up a demand gen campaign step by step. After that, I'll also share my pro-level strategies that I'm using with my clients at my Google Ads agency, Big Flare, to scale demand gen profitably. All right, with that said, let's dive in. All right, guys, to set up your demand gen campaign, first you want to come into Google Ads and click on the blue plus button here to create a new campaign. Once you're in here, you want to select sales if you're an e-commerce store, or leads if you're more focused on doing lead generation. In this case, I'm going to pretend to be an e-commerce store setting up a demand gen campaign, so let's go with sales. Make sure you have the correct conversion goal selected here, your purchase conversion goal for e-com or your lead fill conversion goal for lead gen, and then click continue once you're happy that that's correct. Now we're going to select the campaign type, and we are creating demand gen today. So let's select that one and click continue. There's a few drafts I was working on here, so let's just ignore those. And I want to start a new campaign. I don't want to work on one of my previous drafts. Okay, now you want to name your demand gen campaign. So I would normally keep the campaign type as the beginning of the campaign name. And then I normally recommend to split demand gen out into cold versus retargeting as an initial campaign structure. So let's do cold traffic campaign. So just label it according to whether you're doing cold traffic or retargeting. Now this is important for e-commerce. You do want to run a product feed campaign and you want to attach your product feed. So let's attach my product feed there. That's really important because now, in addition to the video ads that I'm going to add later, the campaign now has the option to use my product feed to also generate ads about my products. Really useful stuff. It also feeds the price data into the ad copy, so then it can automatically show prices of relevant products that it's showing. Very cool stuff, and it definitely helps a lot with performance for e-commerce, specifically if you attach your product feed. If you're lead gen, don't worry about this step. You don't have a product feed. For the campaign goal, you're just going to want to go and select conversions. Conversion value is not even selectable at this stage. I believe this is a goal that's coming soon, but currently not available at time of shooting this video. So right now, we're just going to go with conversions. That's usable whether you're e-commerce or lead gen. You just want conversions as your goal, and make sure the correct conversion goal is selected here under conversion goals, purchases for e-com or leads for lead gen. Target cost per acquisition, you're going to want to leave this blank, guys, right? And we'll talk about bid strategies later and how to progress your campaign and what to do with your targets later. But for now, when you're setting up a new campaign, just leave this blank, and we're going to be managing the campaign not through a target cost per acquisition, but just through a budget. So now you want to set your daily budget, and you want to use a sensible budget. Now I'm going to talk to you about good budgets to use later in this video, so hang around for that. So for right now, let's just put in $200 a day, just as an example budget. And then location and language, you can leave this unticked. You can leave it as it is, set it at the ad group level. Or devices, I recommend you do let it show on all devices, because it's going to be optimizing for conversions. So it's very quickly going to figure out how to optimize towards whichever device gets you the most conversions. So let it go on all devices. And then ad schedule, yep, just let it run all day, because once again, it's going to be optimizing the ad schedule for you based on your conversion goal. So you really just want to let it run all day and let it figure out on its own what parts of the day are better and what devices are better. So you just want to leave these settings as they are so that the system can optimize it on its own. Third-party measurements, you don't really need to fill anything in there. Campaign URL options, if you're lead gen, you probably do want to be using this stuff so that you're passing UTM parameters into whatever tracking system you're using for your leads. So campaign URLs, if you're doing lead gen, I do highly recommend filling this out, making sure that you're doing accurate UTM tracking. For e-commerce, most of you guys don't need to worry about this, so you can just leave it as is. And then Google Video Partners, if you're going to be running at the minimum recommended budgets that I'm going to talk about later in this video, I would actually just turn this off so that you focus your video spend on YouTube, which is the highest performing video placement in the network. If you've got a much larger spends, like 4, 5, 10x the recommended spends I'll talk about later, then you may want to try Google Video Partners from the get-go. But if you've got a sort of closer to minimum budget spend, then I'd turn this off and maybe test it later down the line if and when you can get your demand gen campaign working and scaling. But for now, we don't really need to test it from the get-go. We'll disable it so that we focus on YouTube ads. Now we can click to go to ad group 1. And what I'm going to talk about later is structuring your ad groups around audience types. So let's just rename this to the first audience type that I want to go with. And let's say this will be my in-market audiences ad group. Okay. So we'll talk about this later in the video, hang around for that, and choose product groups. This is where you can choose to show all your products or specific products. If you choose specific products, then you can select specific products from your product feed that you do want to show, and then the ad group won't show other products that you didn't tick here. So for right now, I'm just going to go with all products and assume that I'm advertising all my products in this campaign. Location, you obviously want to make sure it's set to the correct country. In this particular account, we focus on USA. And then languages, for some reason in demand gen, it defaults to all languages. In most other campaign types, it'll often default to English. So I recommend you just change that to English so that it doesn't try to target people who don't even speak English. And then audience, this is where you can start deciding what you're going to target in this particular ad group. So I want to add an audience, and let's create a new one. And then you want to name your audience after the audience type that you're going to be using. So I also recommend naming the ad group after the audience type that you'll be using. And one of the audience types I recommend using is in-market audiences. So let's add that. So let's just pretend I'm creating my in-market ad group, and thus I am making my in-market audiences audience. So you want just to be looking in this ad group at in-markets, which are found here. And then you want to, for in-markets, you would have to browse from Google's list of in-markets. So let's just browse a few things. Okay, let's say, okay, I want that one, I want that one. When you're doing this, you just need to look carefully through this list. You can also search in here for specific in-markets, or you can use the drop down to target specific things. So you want to go in here and find at least 3 to 5 of the most relevant in-markets for you. And as I say, I'll talk about audience targeting strategy later in this video. I'm just doing an example right now so I can show you how to set this thing up. And then exclusions. So this is my cold traffic campaign. So I am going to exclude my people who have been to the website before. So just search all visitors. And the reason why I'm excluding them is because in this example, I plan to set up a separate remarketing campaign to capture those users. So I want to funnel the users into the right place. This is my cold traffic campaign, and I'm going to have a separate retargeting campaign. So I'm going to exclude people who have been to my website because those people I would want captured by my retargeting campaign. If you're not creating a separate retargeting campaign, then don't do this exclusion. This is just an exclusion I'm running because I do plan to set up a separate retargeting campaign to make sure I capture those users. And demographics, just leave it on all demographics, because once again, you just want to let the system test everything in the early days, and you can narrow down demographics later, but don't do it from the start. Let the system test, and then you can get data on which demographics actually work for you. And then actually demographic narrowing is probably one of the first optimizations you want to run when your campaign has been live for about a month or so. But for now, run all demographics, and then later we'll be able to see in the data which demographics actually work best for you, and you actually want to exclude the ones that don't work for you. But that's for another day. Yeah, I've done this before when I was just, okay, so let's just rename it. So it lets me save that. Okay, we've created the audience, and this is a cold traffic campaign. And with cold traffic campaigns, I recommend you keep optimized targeting on, because then it will use the audience you give it as a starting point. But if it can find people outside of that audience that are similar to that audience but do convert for you, then it can show ads to those people. And this just generally works in cold traffic campaigns. So I do recommend keeping it switched on to help it boost your volume. And then for this option here, I recommend you just leave it unticked. Don't tick this one here about showing ads only to people within your age and gender specifications. Ad group URL options. This is where you can fill in your tracking templates and your UTM parameters if you are using that kind of tracking. If you're not using that kind of tracking, then don't worry about that. And next step is to now go into your ad and start creating your actual ad. Now, for e-commerce, I recommend focusing on video and product ads. For e-commerce, I don't recommend doing image and product ads. I'll talk about this later in the video when we come to the strategy section. So I am doing an example e-commerce campaign here. So I'm going to do video and product ads. And ad name, you can name the ad after the theme. So one thing I recommend is having ads based by theme. Again, we'll talk about this during the strategy section of this video. So let's say this particular ad is going to be my lifestyle theme ad. And then put in your URL. Let's just do an example. Okay. And then you can add up to 5 videos here. So add in your videos and make sure to add both portrait and landscape videos, because that way you're going to be able to target both long form YouTube videos using the landscapes and also importantly YouTube shorts using the portraits. And YouTube shorts is where a lot of the good stuff happens with demand gen campaigns. So do make sure to add those portrait videos, guys. So I'm just going to add a few videos here and I'm just going to do it quickly as an example. Okay, so once you've picked your videos, click save. Now, when you've got your videos loaded, there is an option here to start choosing exactly where your videos can be shown, but I recommend you don't do that because right now in the early days, the whole purpose is to test aggressively and figure out where on the network you can place ads successfully. So you don't really want to limit it too much. Let it place the videos anywhere. And then later we can read the data, figure out what works best and narrow things down later. But we need to test widely first to give us the best chance of figuring out what actually works. So leave that ticked off. Logos, you want to click in here and add a bunch of your logos just to make sure that your brand is well represented within the creative. And then video enhancements, I normally just leave this turned on. It can enhance your video perspective to try and get videos working in every available format on the YouTube network. And it only does this, it's all optimized for conversion, so it only does this in the cases where it thinks it can increase conversions. And once again, we're all about buying the data to test the network at this stage. So I do recommend just keeping that ticked. It works just fine. And next up, you want to fill in 5 headlines with that can go up to 40 characters, up to 90 character long headlines. You get up to 5 of those, and descriptions, you get up to 5 descriptions to fill out, and you get 90 characters for each of those. So I'm going to go and fill these out quickly and skip ahead in the video. Okay, so I filled in all the ad copy now. I've got my headlines, my descriptions, call to action text. Once again, I just recommend you leave that automated, and then the system's very quickly going to be able to figure out on its own which of the call to action options actually performs best for you. Put your business name in there. And then you want to add site links. The system recommends you add 4 or more to maximize performance. Now, I actually recommend you try and go all the way up to the limit here, which is 20. So let's just quickly add 20 site links. Now, I have previously created site links in this client account before, so I can just very quickly add the ones I've already created, which I'm doing now. When you do this, if you are new to this or if you haven't made site links before, you'll probably have to click down here for new site links, and you just want to add as many as possible, ideally 20, which is the limit that you get to go up to. And the reason you want to add more is because then you just give the system more options to optimize with, and it's going to pick and choose. When it can show site links, it's going to pick and choose the site links that it thinks will get the best CTR, the best conversion rate. So the more options you give it, the more chances you give it to find something successful. And there's a correlation between like adding more site links and getting a better CTR. I see it in so many accounts. So I do just recommend going all the way up to the limit here and adding 20 site links whenever you can. Apply there. Then URL and other options. So in your display URL, you can just sort of keyword stuff the path section here. So let's just put some keywords into there. And then again, you can add tracking templates at the ad level if you need to do that. Most of us don't need to do that. There's an option here to either auto-generate your companion banner or upload an image. I recommend just leaving that on auto generate because the companion banner doesn't really do much. It's not, I mean, you can upload an image and you can custom create a 300 by 50 companion banner, but the companion banner tends to not get a lot of clicks and it's like really small on the screen when it's showing your long form YouTube video. So I really wouldn't sweat it that much. I usually just let it auto generate because companion banners really don't add that much performance. It's not worth taking the time to custom design something there when it has such a tiny impact on your overall performance, talking about the companion banner specifically. Okay, so we've created our ad. Now we can go to review and it will now let you review the details of your campaign before you click publish, and hey presto, you click publish and you are done. So why should you care about demand gen campaigns? These campaigns are a great way to reach new customers and drive sales by using Google's machine learning to target the right audience at the right time. One of the best parts is how demand gen targets the top of the funnel, unlike search and shopping ads in Google, which are much more bottom of funnel. While top of funnel traffic sources like Facebook, YouTube, and demand gen tend to see lower return on ad spend than bottom of funnel sources like search and shopping, the huge benefit is that they are much more scalable. You can spend and potentially make a lot more if you get your top of funnel traffic sources working really well. Over the past year, I've seen how Google has been improving demand gen by adding better targeting controls and insights. It's also a fantastic way to access YouTube Shorts inventory, which is often underutilized but offers cheaper costs and great reach. At my agency, Big Flare, we found that while demand gen carries higher risk and needs more testing budget than search and shopping, when it works, the potential for scale is huge. Now that we've covered setting up a demand gen campaign and discussed the why of doing demand gen, let's dive into some pro strategies you can use to maximize your results. These pro strategies will help you get the most out of your campaigns, so listen up. Make sure to use video ads and include both landscape and portrait videos. I think YouTube Shorts is where a lot of the good action is in demand gen. So add portrait videos to ensure your ads show up in YouTube Shorts. Most advertisers have not yet caught on to YouTube Shorts as a platform. By adding high quality portrait video creative, you will be ahead of the curve and accessing ads on YouTube Shorts now before the masses have caught on, potentially giving you cheap costs here. When you set up your demand gen ads, you get the option to focus on images or videos. For e-commerce, I recommend that for cold traffic demand gen campaigns, you focus on video plus product ads only. Using image ads will put you into the Google Display Network, which is typically a lower performer for e-commerce specifically. Video ads will put you into YouTube long form videos and YouTube Shorts. When you do this, and when you have good video creative that converts, you start to unlock the true power of demand gen. Now, if you're a lead gen advertiser, then you can try video ads and image ads too, because for lead gen, Google Display Network can actually work quite well. But again, for e-commerce, I recommend skipping the image ads entirely and focusing just on video and product ads. Another great strategy is to test different ad creative themes by creating different ads within the same campaign and ad group. Here's what I mean. Create multiple ads within one campaign and ad group, each with a distinct creative theme. Add a label to each ad to categorize the theme. Later, you can pull reports based on the labels to see which theme is performing the best. Some examples of creative themes for an e-commerce advertiser might include lifestyle, show your product being used in real-life scenarios. Product features, highlight specific features or unique selling points of your product. Before and after, showcase transformations or results that your product delivers. Or customer testimonials, share customer success stories or reviews in the ad. By testing these themes within the same ad group and using labels, you can easily identify and scale up the best performing themes. If you're starting out with the minimum recommended budget that I will talk about later, then I recommend you make only 2 ad themes, maximum 3 at any one time. If you have a lot more budget, you can afford more themes and ads. When you're just starting your demand gen campaign, for the first 30 to 50 conversions, run a maximize conversion strategy without setting a target CPA. Once you hit 50 conversions, you can implement a target CPA aiming for slightly better than your recent average CPA. Over time, you can gradually lower your target cost per acquisition, but be careful. Sudden or significant drops in the CPA target can stifle the campaign spend and impact performance. Adjusting it incrementally ensures your campaign continues to scale while improving efficiency. Now, before we get to the next strategy, I just want to let you know about something that could help you a lot if you're serious about improving your Google Ads campaign and you're an e-commerce store owner. I have a free e-commerce Google Ads course that teaches you how to test Google Ads the right way. This course covers everything you need to know to run Performance Max campaigns effectively, including the core things to focus on and optimize to make them highly profitable. It's designed to save you time, money, and frustration by helping you avoid common mistakes and focusing on what truly works. You can grab your free copy of the course by clicking the link in the description below. All right, back to the strategies. Let's dive into the next one. It's really important to set the right expectations when you're running demand gen campaigns. For example, for a product with a $100 average order value, I would plan to spend around $15,000 spread out over 3 months, $5,000 per month, before expecting to see a profitable return. If your average order value is much higher, you likely need an even higher budget, and vice versa. So demand gen and top of funnel advertising in general is not really for you if your budget is very limited and you must have the campaign doing a profitable ROAS within 1 month of starting. If you have a budget of say $1,000 and you need to be profitable by the time you finish that $1,000, don't do demand gen. Focus instead on bottom of funnel traffic sources like search and shopping for a lower risk-reward profile. In the first month with demand gen, you should expect to lose money. That's totally normal because you're gathering data and training the campaign at this point. By the second month, you can expect to break even, assuming you've been doing everything correct with regards to optimizing your campaign. And in the third month, that's when you'll start to see if your return on ad spend is going to be profitable and by how much. Your profitable ROAS will likely be similar to what you see with Facebook ads. Demand gen is a top of funnel strategy, so breaking even or even just slightly above break even is actually a good outcome. You'll make your real profit on repeat purchases and from the increased brand awareness that drives conversions in other channels like search and shopping. When it comes to targeting the right audiences in demand gen, there are several key groups to focus on. First, you want to use lookalike audiences. Build a lookalike audience based on your previous buyers, as this tends to be one of the strongest performing audiences in demand gen. Next, custom segments are a powerful tool. With custom segments, you can do a mix of custom intent segments and also segments targeting people based on what keywords they have searched in Google in the past. Both of these can work well, and I recommend trying them both. In-market audiences are another option to consider. These are people who are actively researching products or services in your niche, making them prime candidates for your ads. In-markets are similar to custom intent. The difference though is that with in-markets, you need to pick from a predefined list from Google. I do recommend giving in-markets a try and finding the most relevant in-markets for your products. And finally, don't overlook retargeting audiences. This is where we can target people who have been to your website before but didn't buy yet. Retargeting these users helps bring them back into your funnel and increase the likelihood of conversions. For optimal results, here's how I recommend structuring your campaigns. Make sure that retargeting and cold traffic are in separate campaigns. The cold traffic campaign is where you put your lookalike audiences, custom segments, and in-market audiences. I recommend turning audience expansion on in this campaign to broaden your reach and find new potential customers. For your retargeting campaign, this is where you can have your website retargeting audiences, such as people who have visited your product pages or your category pages, or maybe they even got to the cart and abandoned it. For this campaign, turn audience expansion off to prevent Google from going after cold traffic. This is really important in your retargeting campaign. If you accidentally leave audience expansion switched on in your retargeting campaign, well then you just turned your retargeting campaign into a cold traffic campaign, which defeats the purpose. Now within each campaign, structure it so that there's one ad group per audience type. For example, have one ad group for all your custom segments, one ad group for all your in-market audiences, and one ad group for all lookalike audiences, and then one for all your retargeting audiences. Within each ad group, you can have multiple different segments of the same type. For example, let's say I am selling kitchen accessories. I would have one ad group where all my custom segments are in that one ad group. But inside that ad group, I might have multiple custom segments, such as one for people with the intent to buy pots and pans, and one for people who recently searched for recipe guides, and then another one for people who recently searched for kitchen accessories. If you've made it this far, then I know you're serious about growing your business. So I have the perfect next step for you. Check out this video right up here. It's all about how my clients scale their businesses from 7 to 8 figures and beyond. In that video, I break down the core strategies they use to grow, including one of the most important, running top of funnel ads like demand gen. These strategies ensure you're targeting the entire funnel, not just focusing on the bottom. So check out that video if that sounds interesting to you, and I'll see you on the next one.